Hello and welcome to this session and webinar of the project DIGILOGIC. My name is Thorsten Huelsmann. I'm the CEO of Digital Hub Logistics in Dortmund, Germany. Today we will talk about a very important topic about ports congestion and the question if such ports congestion jeopardize Santa Claus supply chain. And I think this fits also nicely into our broader focus of the DIGILOGIC project. The DIGILOGIC project is an innovation action which is funded by the European Commission, and it brings together expertise from European and African digital innovation hubs. And these digital innovation hubs usually work on digital technologies and digital transformation. And as all of these digital innovation hubs have something to do with logistics, with global supply chain, and also manufacturing, this is the topic the DIGILOGIC project is focusing on. So today's webinar deals also with the question of logistics, and I'm very happy to have with me three reputed experts from three different companies and from three different countries, and also two different continents. So maybe I want to start with an introduction round, and I want to ask Abir Leheta to introduce herself. Abir is today with us from Cairo in Egypt. Abir, I would ask you to explain a little bit about yourself, about your background, what you are doing in your company, to share this with us.
Okay, hello Thorsten, I'm very happy to be here with you on this webinar today. My name is Abir Leheta. I am Chairman and CEO of Egytrans. Egytrans is a leading freight forwarder in Egypt. We have been listed for over 20 years on the Egyptian Stock Exchange, and we are serving a large number of industries. At the same time, we are leaders in the field of project logistics and heavy lift transportation. And Egytrans is extremely interested in the direction that DIGILOGIC is supporting. We have a very strong belief in the importance of digitalization and technology in the transport and logistics industry. And this year we actually decided to launch an incubator program called Logivators here in Egypt to support a group of digital startups in transport and logistics.
Thank you so much, Abir. Could you also maybe tell us, this might be of interest to understand a little bit the positioning of your company in your country and maybe in the broader region, maybe some numbers. What is the turnover, or what is the tons you are transporting? Because I experienced that logisticians usually think in these terms.
Yeah, well, we are working in many different areas. So in terms of project logistics, then you're referring to definitely, hundreds and thousands of tons. Otherwise, our turnover is about 200 million Egyptian pounds, which is, I don't want to be doing math on the air, but you can divide that by around 15. So it's something like 12 million, maybe US dollars. Okay,
thank you so much for this first introduction of yourself and your company. So welcome in this round. Then I would go to Tonye. Tonye is representing a rather young company, whereas you, Abir, talked that you are for several years in the business already. So I would say you are one of those companies who settled since decades in the country and in the business. Tonye not, because Tonye represents today a startup company, and you are, well, have developed something which is already helping logistics to make processes more efficient. But Tonye, please introduce yourself. What are you doing? What is your company doing?
Sure, thanks. Hi everyone. I'm Tonye, and I'm the founder and CEO of MVX. And we are a freight shipping marketplace with a trade finance solution. So think of us as a digital concierge of trade for businesses looking to trade with Africa. So we manage the entire end-to-end process from air freight, ocean freight. We pick up shipments anywhere in the world and deliver to anywhere in Africa. But our key markets right now are in Nigeria. We have reps in South Africa, in Ghana, as well as in Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And hopefully at some point in 2022, we might look at Egypt as well. So our goal really is to help African businesses connect with the rest of the world, and to help the rest of the world connect with Africa as regards freight and trade finance, because we believe that if we can support African businesses to move their goods very easily and quickly from here to the rest of the world, then we would see growth across Africa. So that's our mission, and we're working hard every day to bring this to life. We are just under 3 years old. We'll be 3 in March next year. So we're a very young company compared to Abir.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Tonye. Just for curiosity, how many people are working currently in your company? So if you are 3 years old, is it just a handful, or is it more?
So we're about 30 people right now across 2 locations. So our global HQ is in Austin, Texas. Then our African HQ is in Nigeria. So across both locations, we are 30 people.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe allow me a second question. Are you rooted in the US? So is it a startup company which was established and founded in the US and then to African countries as well? Or was it from the very beginning both locations?
Well, from the beginning, we started in Nigeria, but when we realized that we started as a different company providing a different service in 2019. Then in 2020, we had to pivot to freight forwarding because we realized that it was a much bigger market than what we were doing before. And at that point, we decided to expand to the US because we wanted to be in a global economy to really have a feel of trade between the US market and African countries. And we're looking to expand that to other continents as we grow and scale the company.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this explanation.
Thanks.
Then I want to go to Alexander. Hello, Alexander. Welcome in this round. Alexander is deputy of the corporate development department of the port of Duisburg, or Duisport, as the brand name is called. And additionally also the CEO of Startport, which is, I would say, a startup accelerator, but I think, Alexander, you can explain it better. So please introduce yourself and also your organization.
Thank you, Thorsten. Thank you for having me. We are not that young, as Tonye, you are. We are basically more than 300 years old, the company, but I'm not working. I'm working here for almost 5 years. In the corporate development department, I'm basically in charge of all our activities regarding innovation, sustainability, environmental issues, decentralized energy supply, everything that covers that topic. And Startport is a 100% subsidiary of the Port of Duisburg. And basically the goal is to help logistics startups grow. Since we are the biggest inland port in the world, we believe we have the right network, the right infrastructure to help to bring startups to Duisburg, which isn't always that easy because the city itself, not like the most popular city in the area. It's quite challenging due to industrial change, less coal, less steel, all those things are happening here. But we're trying to our best actually to bring the best logistics startups from all over the world to Duisburg, to the area, to connect them with our clients. and just to make sure that all those developments, not only digitalization, but also sustainability, which is not less important, to make those things happen here and to bring them at the end to the market and to the whole world, that all people can participate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alexander. Maybe also for you, one more question, which is trying to detail a little bit for those people who are participating and not knowing where exactly Duisburg is located. Maybe you can just draft the connections to some of the main European ports, and maybe also give us some numbers, how many containers are handled in your terminals or something else, which helps us to understand the role of Duisport.
Of course. So when I explain people who do not know where Duisburg is, it's right next to Düsseldorf, very close to Cologne, pretty close to the Dutch border. So basically it's along the River Rhine. The River Rhine is like the most important transportation river we have in Germany. We are not that much connected to the port of Hamburg, which is the biggest German seaport, but we are more connected to the western ports, Rotterdam, Antwerp, Bruges, Amsterdam. When you right now look at the map in terms of connection, maybe the most important connection we have right now in terms of visibility in the market is the new Silk Road. So we are the main destination and arrival port, and for all, not all, but most of the trains that are coming from China and going to China. So basically 30% of all the trains that are coming from China and going to China are coming from or going to Duisburg. That makes us the major player on the new Silk Road. And above that, it's quite simple. You can reach every destination in Europe from Duisburg via a direct train. So the port itself is focusing very, very strongly on gateway traffic. That means most of the traffic that is coming to Duisburg is not staying here. So we see ourselves as a gateway, as a hub. We consolidate. We have fast shuttles to all big cities, to all big connections, to make sure that you can get to everywhere via Duisburg if you like. In terms of numbers, let me just add real quick. So we handle roughly 4.2 million TEUs per year, or 130 million tons. Two numbers that are more or less more important than those two numbers are numbers of ships and trains we have in the port. So we basically have 20,000 ships, 25,000 trains each year. And those numbers matter most because they show what we actually aim for. And this is modal shift from road to rail and ship.
Okay, thank you, Alexander, for this explanation. I think now we have a good picture of all three organizations you are representing. So maybe coming again to Abir, and I wanted to ask you, what is your experience in your business when it comes to, I would say, global supply chains and maybe some congestions? Is it a challenge, or was it a challenge for your company in the last, let's say, 1 or 1.5 years to deal with the global, sometimes uncertain frameworks? And how do you deal with this? Maybe you could share some experience from your business.
Who would like to start?
I think
yes, I think that this is definitely a global issue that we are all very strongly affected by. And there is a knock-on effect. I mean, of course, this began in early 2020 with the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, when there were a lot of closures and lockdowns, etc. And that was a pretty, I think, easy or straightforward step. But now the restarting process is much more difficult. And I think our experience over the past couple of years has been that it's a complex problem. It's actually many events piling up on top of each other and into a kind of perfect storm. So whenever you feel like you're kind of coming out of the bottleneck, something new comes up You have at the beginning COVID-19, and then some limited closure of ports after things started to open up, and then power shortages and Brexit and shortages of truck drivers and backlogs at the different ports and the Suez Canal blockage. And so it seems to be an ongoing process that we're all experiencing. And in Egypt, this has definitely affected us because a lot of the vessels are kind of trapped in other places. A lot of containers have been displaced to the US, for example, or to China, where there are huge backlogs outside of the ports, and so there's a real difficulty to find empties here for exports, or to be able to also find them for imports coming in. So I think for us as a business, our main role as a freight forwarder is to help our clients look at different options, and just to have the whole picture there, and whether sea freight or air freight when appropriate. I mean, air freight has been picking up considerably to try to fill a little bit of that gap, trying to find the best rates, which is very, very challenging, with increases of 500 and 600% in shipping rates. So I think that this is definitely affecting us, but it's also making our role more important in helping our customers to overcome some of these challenges. And I believe that we all see it as something ongoing, at least into the first half of 2022.
Okay, thank you for this insights. Very, very interesting. And before I come to you, Tonye, maybe we collect also the experience of Alexander, because I think from the Western European hinterland hub, Duisport, Alexander can also share with us some experience, what is happening right now there, and maybe also what effects this has for the distribution of goods or for the export of goods.
So when I look back at the beginning of Corona last year in March, basically, or maybe a little further back when China basically went in lockdown, there was basically the only situation where we saw a real dip in the supply chain. So when there was a lockdown in China 8 weeks later, like because the ships were already on the road, like when those ships basically were checked, we had a very, very strong dip for about 6 weeks. But as soon as China opened, we had a huge increase in volume, and the volume increased not on the sea side, but the volume increased on the rail side, because companies tried to save time and they switched to rail. So the dip was very, very, not very, very long, but we kind of could work with it quite fast. But what we see right now is that the volume is from China is coming very, very strongly, but there's not a lot of volume going back. And that is also the reason why we have such enormous price tags for transportation. If you look on the price for a container going to Shanghai, you pay, I don't know, 20, 30 times the price you've paid 2 years ago, not only on the sea side, but also on the rail side. And that leads to quite issues, because we get a lot of volume and the terminals are full. Like not only in Duisburg, but in general, the terminals are full. And since they're full, because we get nothing is going back, so it's quite hard to explain. Like, things happened in the supply chain that weren't that good for the whole supply chain, because people try to kind of make the best profit out of what happened. We had the situation in the canal. We all heard about the big tanker, like all those bits and pieces. They led to a very, very complicated situation. And then we have the issue with the resources, not only in Germany, but worldwide. That leads to the big issue that especially Germany cannot export a lot of goods. So we have a lot of containers here that are not going back to all over the world. We have very, 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 very full empty depots. which is an issue. Right now, I do not really see an issue in terms of last mile. So I'm quite honest. Like I do not see that there will be like the people do not get their Christmas presents and stuff like that. There might be an issue in terms of price for transport, because a lot of companies might switch to either air freight if there is enough capacity, or try to make like last mile delivery only by truck, which is not good for environment. But this is what will happen, because if rail is full, if barges are full, you can get capacity on truck. But if you look in the big shops, if you look on Amazon or wherever, like you can get everything you like still. There might be an issue in very close to Christmas when people are going on vacation. But right now, like if I'm looking on the volume we have in the terminals, like we have tons of volume. So everything that is ordered right now is somewhere in the country, so it will be delivered. Yeah, it depends on how the Corona is going to develop, quite honestly. Yeah. In China, it looks always quite fine, so it's the volumes will come. If Europe can handle it quite well after the winter, I think. But we will still. I'm very certain that we will still keep the high prices for transport for the next year, because the supply chains will not kind of cool down in a month or two. It will take at least a year till we have again the containers all over the world, that we do not have any issues in terms of where can I get my container.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Alexander. So we take this as a kind of interim statement or result, that it's less a local congestion, but it's more an imbalance in the global supply chains, maybe. So coming to Tonye, you are a startup company who is offering technology or services with your platform to overcome some of the challenges. Maybe you could also share some experience from your customers. What have you experienced in the last year or 1.5 years in operations?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's been quite interesting for us, because when we pivoted to freight forwarding, this was literally at the start of the lockdown in March last year. And so what we were doing then was we realized we couldn't move goods out or into the country because different governments were figuring out Corona. We started helping customers move containers from Lagos Apapa port, precisely, through barges to other smaller terminals across the states to decongest the port. So that's how we started, and very quickly we now started getting export import demands. And since COVID, we've seen a lot of decline in imports, especially from Europe and China. We've had instances where customers are canceling orders because the freight rate is just outrageous. It just doesn't make sense for them. They rather just cancel the order and move on. So we see that a lot. We have requests that are pending for 3-6 months because the customer just can't afford to ship their goods in. But where we come in really is around the planning and aggregation, because we realize that many businesses in this part of the world do not operate in silos. So you have a trucking operator operating different from the freight forwarder, operating different from the customs, from the warehousing. So a business looking to move their goods from say Nigeria to the EU, let's say Netherlands, has to work with like 6 different parties, and that process is expensive. It causes multiple delays, and it's fragmented. And what our technology is streamlining all of these processes into one, so the customer is better served and they have full visibility of their shipments. Now, the global supply chain has affected these businesses, and they know that there's little or nothing we can do as a company, as MBX, to resolve that. But the best we can do is to give them full visibility of their shipments. And using our platform, they're able to see where their shipments are in real time, and they can plan effectively. So if ETA was supposed to be 8th December, and for whatever reason, the vessel arrives at the port but can't berth, and it's going to take like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the customer is fully aware of the delay, and they're able to plan around that delay. Another aspect we're looking to introduce next year is around inventory management, to try to streamline the entire process for our customers, where we have full visibility of the inventory and know when they have like a minimum stock and when they need to order, so we can work with them to place the order and move the shipments in even before they run out of stock here in Africa. So these are some ways our technology is helping businesses, weather the supply chain storm we're going through right now.
Okay, and maybe to summarize, is then this imbalance which Abir and Alexander described before, is it more a positive thing for you because it's easier to sell your service, or is it maybe on a long run not so good? This would be also maybe of interest.
Well, that's a very fascinating question. It is, unfortunately, it's been an advantage because many businesses are more aware of our services and how we can help them. Before COVID, before the supply chain imbalance, many businesses didn't care for technology. They just wanted to move their goods. But now they insist, okay, we need to see where our goods are in real time. We need to properly plan and aggregate and streamline our processes. And so it's opening up new opportunities for businesses like ours. And we imagine this will drive the new supply chain, because after COVID-19, we're going to see a new supply chain, and it will be driven by tech-enabled processes. And we believe that MVX will be at the forefront of this in Africa. Okay, thank you. And the last question, maybe to help our listeners to understand properly, are more shippers using your platform, or is the core target group freight forwarders, or is it more infrastructure companies like ports? So who is basically using your service? Very good question as well. So we've been working with shippers. We work with a lot of shippers, but at the start of this quarter, we're now building a marketplace where freight forwarders and shippers are on the platform, leveraging our technology to do business, to transact across the world. So right now, shippers, but by January, we're launching our marketplace where we're going to have freight forwarders, shippers, and just aggregating supply and demand of these services through our platform and enabling trade, with our platform.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for this explanation. Thank you very much. And after this first round of explaining the current situation and also having a look a little bit into the past and the current developments, I want now to focus a little bit more on the question how technologies and maybe digital technologies can help to overcome the challenges we see. And maybe a first question to Abir and your company and your organization. You mentioned already that you started to work on new programs, on an acceleration program. And my question would be, what is the overall goal of this? Is this to really position your company as for instance, as a venture capitalist, or is it more to be always on the current edge, on the leading edge of technology? Maybe you can explain us a little bit what you are doing there, and also what is your outlook, how digital technologies can help in the future to become more competitive or to have your processes even more efficient? Okay.
I think for us, this initiative had multiple goals. One goal is really to encourage a digital transformation. We are a traditional company. We have actually existed for almost 50 years now. And so, yes, we are using, technology, but we believe that we could be doing much better on that. And, cooperating with startups, we think is a brilliant way to do that. So some of the startups that we're working with might actually have some, contribution to our own business processes and our own development. On another note, we are also looking to grow through diversification, and so this is could be also an opportunity for us to find investments at an early stage in startups that have real, potential to disrupt or to just meet some unmet needs in the market. The market is very fragmented, and there is a huge amount of room for improvement and for efficiencies in so many areas. And so when you look at transport and logistics across the board, then in every vertical industry there are things that can that can be done to improve things. In the current situation and this whole supply chain disruption, I think there are two main things, or maybe even three main things that can really help to improve. A part of it is similar to what Tonye and MVX are doing, to provide more visibility, and which allows much better planning and much better use of the resources when resources are limited, or there's chaos, as the case may be. The other thing I think is the use of port community systems, because these allow the digitalization of commercial and planning and support functions, and the optimization of a lot of operations within the ports, and just the managing of the relationships between all of the different parties that form a very complex process around the import and export of goods through the ports. And implementing such systems, I think, can really improve a lot of the congestion and the things that we are seeing currently. And the third thing, I think, is really around utilizing AI in the supply chain, particularly things like simulations that again will aid in planning and predicting disruptions down the line, and then providing companies with suggestions on what to do, where they should increase their inventories versus where they should decrease, how to find the balance really between efficiency and having a kind of resilience.
Okay, thank you so much. I will come with another question in a minute to you, that we can maybe focus a little bit more on your program. But I want first go to Alexander, because I see some parallels, because also the Port of Duisburg started an endeavor a couple of years ago. And Alexander, maybe you can explain us and share some insights on your other responsibility, the Startport endeavor.
So maybe a couple of, before I jump to the Startport, just to the port community system, Abir, you just mentioned.
Yes, please.
It's perfect that you mentioned it. I think this is development we've seen in the last 2 years in the seaports, because they pushed ahead. You have Nexport, port base in Rotterdam and Antwerp. So you have big players on the market, because the seaports, they understood a little bit before the hinterland how important it is to be well connected to the clients in terms of digital connection, and bring services onto a platform and be as transparent as possible. So I totally agree that this is 100% the future. I think that there's one issue we need to solve right now. Every port has their own port community system, but the goal should be that those community systems, that they interact, because like being transparent in a port is fine, but the goal is being transparent on the whole supply chain between all those port community systems in the whole world. And as we all know, data sharing is, we all want it, but at the end, like, no one is doing it properly, not obvious, but it is still a thing. And looking on the other side, Startport. So when we've decided to found Startport, to start being active in the startup field, we had the first goal was we wanted to make Duisburg more attractive for startups, becoming just a place where logistics startups are actually wanting to work, to be at, that they see the benefit. Like not only the seaports are well connected in logistics, but there are also hinterland spots where it's worth it to be in. And of course, the other part of the medal was what you just mentioned, Abir. We want to get a grip on new developments. For a big company and for a port, it's always difficult to always see what's going on, because we have daily business. There's tons of developments going on in the market, and it's just not possible to see it all on yourself. Like you basically lose a grip if you just start to look on startups. And startups, they not only give you the opportunity to see technology, but they also show you how to approach certain topics differently. Because it's often that way. They present you something and you say, it's not that interesting because we need this and that. And they just, but look, you can use this to solve that problem, because they are not like that. Yeah, they're not in a closed environment as like people in a company are, which is fine because you need both. And for the startups, it's on the other side so important to get the feeling what is the market, what needs the market, because sometimes they have a vision, and when they talk to the market, they realize, oh, it's quite a nice vision, but the market will never accept it because it's just 2 steps ahead, and we need to go like tiny steps because the logistic market is not that digital right now. And the thing, like investing, earning money, it's fine, but it's not the goal for us. It's more, just knowing what's going on, and sometimes also being the first who can implement a technology because we've been the first who've recognized the startup.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for this explanation, Alexander. And so I understood it right that Startport is basically established by Duisport, by the port of Duisburg, and you are more acting like a host or like a facilitator for this startups. It's not your primary goal to invest and bind them to your company and to your organization.
So what is important to mention? Yes, it is our subsidiary, but it's not. We are not doing it on our own. So we have, the system is based on a network, like on a partnership, type of working together. So we founded it, yes, but it's we have 7, 8 exclusive partners like Klöckner in the region, Rack Stiftung, terminals around DIT, the local companies, Wirtschaftsbetriebe here in Duisburg, and they all contribute. So like it's not an innovation part of Port of Duisburg. It's very focused innovation and startups in logistics for Duisburg and the region. That is very, very important. It is our subsidiary, but it's not like our thing.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
And maybe to add one thing, and the reason why we decided to do it, because the goal was to do something good for the region. And if it's good for us, it's also fine. But at the end is, for the region.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for this explanation. And maybe also keeping this 2 experiences in mind, I want to come to Tonye again. And maybe you could share some insights with us how your startup was established. Have you also been part of such, let's say, hub accelerators or some support mechanisms, or was your company established just in a garage without any support mechanisms? I think this would be also of interest for us to understand.
Thanks for asking that question. So we've had, I would say one incubator, informal, which at the time wasn't intentional, and one proper accelerator. So before I started MVX, I worked in a shipping and logistics business owned by my family, and so I really learned the business. I started from the bottom as an officer, then grew to the head of strategy before leaving to start MVX. And so I worked with operators, I worked with customers, and gained a lot of insights that led me to start MVX a year after I left my previous company. And we joined an accelerator in 2020, literally as COVID started, we're starting an accelerator, which was quite interesting for us because the Founders Factory Africa, which is what they're called. We're also trying to figure out this new world, a virtual world with COVID-19. And so it was an interesting experience for us, but it really helped our company because we got firsthand support, across technology, across product management, product development, design, strategy, and whatnot. And it gave us the foundation we needed to properly kickstart this freight forwarding business that we're now doing, and it's doing quite well.
Thank you for this insights. I'm always curious, so sorry for nasty questions, but I would understand the position where your company is right now. Are you fine with your customers? The product, the platform is ready, or are you also foreseeing further rounds of investments that you are proactively looking for new investors, or maybe also capitalists who could, for instance, invest in your company?
Yeah, what I always say in startup land is we always raising. We are currently raising some money. We raised a seed round at the start of the year. I think in May, June, we closed that round and announced it. We're currently raising a seed extension round, and we're looking to close that by the end of this year. So we have December to close that round, and by next year we intend to raise our Series A. And so we're looking to expand, looking to grow, looking to invest in our technology and our people, and to really empower our operations and help our customers move their goods efficiently from point A to point B across the world. Okay, understood. Thank you for sharing. So now back again to Egypt. Abir, you explained a little bit about your plans with talking to startups and maybe also understand new technologies, but I would be interested in understanding, are these plans or have you already started with a kind of accelerator program, and will this program be exclusively facilitated by your organization, or will it be also more a community approach, for instance, like Alexander explained it from the port of Duisburg? This, I think, would be also of high interest for our listeners.
Well, this is actually something that we have been thinking about for a long time. Maybe we've even been thinking about it for the past couple of years and wanting to do it and not really sure how to start, because as I said, we're a traditional company, and so it's not really our area. And so we came to the conclusion that we would need to partner with people who are familiar with how to attract startups, how to work with them, how to set up an incubation program, and then how to set up an investment program. And so we've actually formed this program through partnership with two companies who are very active in the startup ecosystem in general in Egypt. But our role is in helping to select the startups from an industry point of view, and also providing some mentorship from an industry point of view, while their role is more on the general incubation and investment side. Okay, and maybe also a related question: is this activity then focused more on startups and tech companies from Egypt, or is it also open, or are you spotting actively the broader region, or maybe also towards other African companies, or maybe also globally? Yeah, well, for us, this is the very first time we've done this, and so we are kind of treating it as a pilot project and as an experiment and a learning process. This first time we launched it in Egypt only, but I'm very ambitious and very also optimistic. So I'm envisioning future rounds as being more open to perhaps North Africa, perhaps even beyond that in later rounds. Okay, thank you so much. And maybe also the same question to Alexander. Your
focus and the startups who are participating in your batches, are they, or the majority, is it from Germany, or are you also looking internationally in Europe or abroad?
So we started in Germany because it was like, pretty simple, more or less. But we have startups from all over the world right now, because there is no need to be, as we all know, to be on site. To connect, the internet is enough. Of course, we prefer to have companies on site, but it's not a must-have. We are happy to have companies from all over the world as long as they fit in the basic structure, logistics. But to mention, like, we're not saying we need a transportation company, something like that. There is always, we always find more or less a bit of connection to logistics. We have also companies that are basically doing drones research that can be used in logistics. So they're not basically focusing on logistics, but it will bring a benefit to the logistics sector, to the port. So it's a very, very broad field, what we're trying to aim for, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. And maybe here I want to mention also, I want to give some input from my side, because maybe you are not aware that also the European Commission is from time to time offering funding, especially for startups, whether they are from Europe, whether they are from Africa or other parts of the world. I think we could, within the DIGILOGIC project, also give you some information. Usually these funds are either called open calls, then they are limited and very fast applicable. But I think we could also share some information about this, and maybe it is worthwhile for your companies to apply there and to, well, get a little bit of support financially or from the community. Yeah.
Definitely, we try also our best to help, because we're also very active in research projects as a port. But you know it better than I do. There are so many funding possibilities on European level, on a local level. It's crazy right now, which is good, but it's like to keep the overview is more or less impossible.
That's totally true. For this interesting insights and also sharing your experiences with us, I want to focus and to announce something which will happen in the future in DIGILOGIC project. Please, if you are interested, follow our DIGILOGIC homepage and the communication channels. Why? Because we will launch a sequel of challenges with the goal to bring in contact companies who have certain challenges and startup companies or tech companies, innovators who might help to solve the challenges and work in dedicated projects. So this is something which we will experience in the next weeks and months within the DIGILOGIC framework. So for everyone who is listening and watching us, please have a look and follow the communications to maybe apply as a company who has a challenge, or maybe also to apply as an innovator or a startup company to work with corporations on these challenges. And well, finally, I want to ask a last round of questions to our panelists. And yes, maybe just a short summarizing outlook, what will come in the first quarter of the next year? What will be the 2 or 3 main challenges of your organization? And here maybe also starting with Abir, having a look to your company located in Egypt.
Well, I think that we can expect a continuation of many of these, supply chain disruption that we've been seeing. I'm not expecting to have it resolved anytime soon. And so I think that the challenge is, finding space for volumes in Egypt in particular. We've been the whole direction has been to increase exports in a big way, and there's been some success on that. But I think that this lack of spaces is a big challenge, and also the freight rates. This is a huge challenge going forward. So I see really Q1 and of 2022 as a continuation of what we've been living recently.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your outlook. Tonye, you are busy with fundraising, or what will be your most important challenge in the upcoming months?
Yeah, I think for us, we're fundraising, so that would occupy us for the next couple of weeks. But what we're also preparing for is tech adoption, growth in tech adoption, because we're seeing that on a weekly basis. It's our tech adoption rates are growing literally 2x every other week, and we expect this to grow continuously next year. And we're looking to expand our technology team because with more users, there are more problems and more challenges. So we're looking at that. And then we also, overall, we imagine, we foresee that businesses will start looking at vessel chartering, possibly chartering entire ships to move their goods from point A to point B, because right now it's just difficult for many businesses. I'm having a few customers coming to us to ask, hey, can we charter small vessels to move our goods from West Africa to South Africa, for instance. So I think we're going to see more of that, and we're preparing for that. But overall, we expect the supply chain disruption to continue with the Omicron variants now coming up. Things we're still unsure how the COVID situation will be by Q1 next year, but we're all hopeful that it shouldn't be too bad.
Thank you. Thank you for this outlook from your side. And now coming to Port of Duisburg, Alexander, I observed that there are some changes ongoing. So not only that you have a new CEO who took office a couple of weeks ago, but also in Germany, there will be maybe a complete new government with new directions. Will this something which will be challenging for you and keeping you busy, or is this just the framework and you have other challenges which will keep you busy in the next months?
No, I think the plans of the new government, we'll see how they go along. What is the most important for us is what they mentioned about the future of the Deutsche Bahn and how they're going to kind of proceed here. What we all know is we have in Germany right now, in the last 2 weeks, very, very, very crazy issues on the rail side. It was even mentioned on the EU level that there are issues in Germany due to construction. We all hope that those disturbances on the rail side will be solved, because for Germany, those disturbances on the rail side are very, very problematically right now. Looking on the whole market, on the supply chain market, I think the development is very, very strongly dependent on prices in energy. This will trigger everything. If the prices keep on rising, we will get a lot of issues in supply chain, because products will get more and more expensive. I think the whole we already see that the development of the economy in China and the US is not growing as fast as everyone was hoping in 2021. So we see basically kind of a dip in growth. This will affect the supply chain, not positively, quite honest. And I think we will keep the issues, because products will come to Europe, especially. It will be tough times are coming. I do not see that 2021 will be, less complicated in terms of supply chain visibility and the possibilities and price of transport as it was in 2021.
Okay, thank you very much for your estimation and for your outlook. Well, with this, I want to thank you very, very much. It was a very interesting conversation. Thank you that you made it from Egypt, from Nigeria, and from Germany. Thank you that you participated. And for those who are watching us, I want to thank Also, the European Commission for giving us the possibility to run such endeavors, to host and facilitate interesting conversations, live sessions, and webinars in our innovation action DIGILOGIC. And finally, I want to encourage everyone to follow, as already mentioned, the channels for what will come in the DIGILOGIC community. Thank you and goodbye.